a little fearful for this Alchemist pick. Up until that point, I thought their draft was like way better overall. The one concern I have about this Void pick is that other than Lina, you have no D-push against this Lycan Gyro combo that just like this really strong mid-game, and the Lycan obviously offering all the push. So I'm looking at this game similar to how I looked at the Alchemist game earlier, and that's just that if they can snowball the objectives on the map for Liquid before the Alchemist BKB, which comes after the Radiance, their lineup looks really good. But if TNC is able to hold the fort, I don't see how they can scale against Alchemist Void. With the Ogre Steroid, he's not only going to have the Bloodlust, but he's also going to have probably a Pipe, a Solar Crest, a Crimson.
Yeah.
These types of items that just effectively give extra slots, right, to the Alchemist as well as the Void. So I have to give late game to the Radiant, and I give like the 10 to 25 minute window to Liquid, and the rest of the game is TNC. So that's what I'm looking for. I do think this draft has better potential for Liquid than last game, but they definitely have a fire.
And that is something that Blitz kind of touched on, right? Is that he was saying the one way I could see Liquid winning this is taking control early and getting that first Roshan. And that's going to be the really big window of taking objectives, trying to take control of the map. And choke out an Alchemist lineup. We're going to an even split of bounty runes this time around. It will be the Gyrocopter mid and the safe lane Lycan dealing with the Ogre Lina lane. When I saw that drafted, I was like, yeah, I guess that probably is a hero that is tanky enough, has enough regen that could deal with Ogre Lina. Do you think it's good enough?
I mean, I don't think any carry can quote unquote deal with Ogre Lina. Like it's going to be a hero that can retreat to the jungle somewhat early, and I think he's going to do okay, but I don't think there's really a carry that wins the game or wins the lane against Ogre Lina. Like in the entire hero pool of Dota, I don't think there's one that does. So you kind of just got to survive the lane. That's the power of picking this Ogre core. You know, the hero doesn't scale as well as a lot of other cores, but his laning prowess is insane. You have the setup stun for Lina to get the Light Striker Ray, and then pretty much any carry in the game just gets right-clicked by Lina, and it's super annoying.
Yeah. You could see they're actually dual laning right now against Armel, and Sania is going to camp out here, maybe in part because of what you're saying, that this is just not a lane that you can really beat or deal with, so maybe it's better focus all your efforts on trying to deny as many creeps away from Armel as possible. Meanwhile, they've got the aggro dual lane, the Rubik Centaur classic duo. But Boxy already taken a lot of damage. The retaliate stacks are being built up, though.
That's genius.
See whether or not he can actually get some good CS from it. I don't know, man. I'm not sure if I've ever seen Grimstroke successfully in a mid lane dual lane, but they will manage to get the first blood as he just gets a bit too close. Mickey does get stunned up by Tim's, managed to draw off the aggro of the tower and will survive as a result. A safety fairy fire just in case, and Insani will pass over a healing salve as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really important to force out the Lina rotation. Now that gives Lycan like 1 or 2 creep waves for him to get that extra. Like once you get level 4 or 5 on Lycan, you can just rotate between jungle and lane to defend. It's just those early couple of levels that this hero's really weak.
Yeah.
His wolves scale very naturally well as his passive. So.
It feels a lot like the safe lane Beastmaster, you know, where your summons make it really hard to beat this hero in a 1v1 because he just can out CS you all the time. But those first couple of levels, those summons are really weak and just can be free gold.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Koifa just being patient, biding his time, waiting for, you know, whenever the Lina leaves, get some CS, otherwise bottom lane. Trying to go for a kill here onto March. They're going to pop the all those stacks that he had earlier from the Retaliate. They're going to use that against March here, finish him off.
Earlier today, we saw a true 1v1 between an Ogre and a Lycan, and pretty much what you just said happened, where the Ogre won early and then the Lycan just naturally scaled better in the lane. But that's not really going to be the case here because Ogre's been free farming with the aid of the Lina. Like, this isn't a true 1v1, right? You've been given a nice head start on the Ogre, and I think that's just going to prolong his advantage and thus pretty much securing it until maybe Lycan 6 where they can look to rotate. I would like to see an early Crimson Guard from the Ogre. Other than Gyro, their early to mid game damage, like from Rocket Barrage, other than that, there's really no way to deal with that damage mitigation.
Jesus, they just will not leave Armel alone. Time and time again, Insania shows up with the Inkswell alongside the homing missile. And
is Alchemist like really the hero you want to be shutting down, right? I talked about this with the Morphling. This is the hero that the rest of the team is responsible for making space for.
Yeah.
So as long as the other two cores are having a good start, you're eventually going to have to deal with these other two cores, and you're not going to be able to shut down this greedy hero anymore, right? So I don't know. Like I think I would want to prioritize the Void and the Ogre. I don't think the Ogre is really like, abusable, and then Centaurs against an Undying. I mean, Gyro and Centaur are getting the starts they need. So I think all in all, like, Liquid is set up to potentially ramp up the pace of this game quite fast. I like this Bastion a lot, by the way, on Void. Any carries that lack creep wave push, I really like to buy Bastion in these types of games. Like I talked about, they're going to be under threat of being pushed against a lot, and they want to do as best they can to fight against that. Bastion doing a lot for that. But yeah, top lane.
From behind, an easy kill on Tims. Doesn't actually get the telekinesis throw back. And as a result, I think they're going to miss that kill. Very unfortunate, rotating both supports up there. That should have been a kill on a support, and then Koifa just kind of free farming the lane. But with the 5-minute shrines coming up, Lina is going to be able to stay in lane with this Ogre, and
the race
may come about that time. The race to the bounty runes. Boxy does manage to grab it. So another 2-2 split.
Pretty funny that a level 2 Undying is like man fighting a level 4 Centaur.
Yeah.
It's just crazy when you have strength heroes against Undying.
0-2, but TNC holding that slight net worth lead. Now they're putting both supports again here in this top lane. They're going to try and go for the Inkswell stun onto KP. Can't get out of range. Koifa joining them a bit. Managed to get the Wolves body blocking until the LSA comes in from Tims. And back to farming it goes, and they're just going to leave Boxy alone in that. I guess in that bottom lane, they've given him enough space, enough levels that he can contest with the Undying a little bit better.
This is some serious greed from the Ogre, by the way. I don't know if you saw his item build. Like, I think he bought boots now because he had like 1,500 earlier, but I mean... yeah, he bought boots. I'm like a little confused because I think your lineup's already very greedy. You have Alchemist and you have Void. I'm not saying to not buy a Midas on Ogre, but maybe go like, you know, Phase Bracer Midas or something.
Yeah. Something that would allow you to use that advantage to dominate the laning phase a little bit more.
Yeah, and now you've kind of thrown away your advantage, I feel like, against this Lycan, who's now putting a lot of pressure top. You do have the Lina to D-push a bit. I'm not 100% sure I don't like this. I just, usually, based on what I just saw last game from KP, I'm surprised to see such a drastic shift in like mindset.
He's definitely saying like, I want to be able to farm up. I want to be able to scale better late into the game, but they don't really need that with an Alch and Void cores. I don't think they have to worry about late game too much.
Yeah, to be fair, once the mid game rolls around, he's not going to be hitting a creep for like the rest of the game. So he does need the Midas, right? Because that allows him to still gain net worth over the course of the game while pretty much just becoming a nuke and bloodlust bot. But
with the Phase Bracer, like, you wouldn't be chased away by these wolves, right?
Yeah.
You would turn and you'd be right-clicking the wolves every single time. Trying to farm up the jungle as much as possible. Mickey had some stacks spotted out by Insania, and they will take them away from TNC. This is supposed to be the recovery for the Alchemist. Of course, Alchemist does have other options. The triangle was stacked up for him as well.
We saw this earlier where the opponent team was taking the Alchemist stacks. Now, this needs to turn into like somewhat early objectives. Sometime before maybe 12, 13 minutes, they need to take a couple tier 1s and not only be slowing down the Alchemist timings, but also be slowly but surely cutting off the map. Because even if Alchemist gets a Radiance, if the rest of his team is stuck getting nothing on the map because Alchemist is taking all of the limited farm that there is, then you can deal with just an Alchemist being farmed. But you have a Void going Midas, you have an Ogre going Midas.
So who's moving where, in your opinion, for Liquid? You're saying we need to take objectives. Whose job is it to move out of their lane and to put that pressure to start?
I think it's 100% gyro rotating. It's just a matter of if he wants to go to the Lycan with Lycan ult. I think I would go away from the Centaur because Centaur contributes to the fight without actually being there. So
Yeah.
I think Gyro rotating to Lycan's lane or vice versa is definitely going to be what happens. It's whether or not they think mid lane or top lane is the priority. Oftentimes you rotate to your off laner's lane, but oddly enough, this game, Lycan's your tower push and Gyro's kind of like your mid game strength. So I think it's naturally going to happen around the mid lane.
Yeah.
But they seem to be content. What is Lycan's timing on the Helm Dom here? Okay, so he did just get it. Okay, he's going bottom. I almost would have preferred mid, but if they want to punish bottom too, that works for me. What's the plan here to kill this Void? Maybe force the time walk?
Yeah, trying to force out the time walk. Gabby knows what's coming, so he's running the opposite direction of Boxy right now. Runs to the other side of that cliff. Does throw out the Chronosphere and TPs away. So that it, you know, they force out that ultimate and very likely are going to be able to take this tower as a result. Because I don't know if TNC want to be able to defend, especially given the greediness of their lineup and no Chronosphere.
Well, yeah, they happen to rotate to the one lane I didn't list in the 2 lanes I said, but either way, the concept is there. They did force a rotation, and this is classic Void Dota right now.
What, lucky bashes?
Just bashing you and never dying, pretty much.
They will manage to find the kill, though, onto March. And maybe with a silence landing onto the Void, time walk coming up, he will manage to get a small distance away, but Mickey continues to chase him. Still, though, he's already healed up enough. They are beginning to cut into this jungle area. That allows this Lycan to keep the push going to bottom. And if they rotate to bottom, that allows this pressure in mid. They can start chipping away at that mid-tier 1 tower. So this is a win-win situation for Liquid right now when it comes to taking objectives. Even better if they can kill KP here. The telekinesis, retaliate, maxed out stacks, but KP is still very tanky. Maybe if he had a phase boots, though, he'd be tanky enough to survive this. But as it is, it looks like Boxy should be able to chase him down. KP is going to try and juke his way through the trees with this Quelling Blade. But Boxy continues to cut down trees as well to keep some eyes on KP, making sure he cannot juke his way out of this one. 0-5, Liquid. Still not holding a net worth lead, but again, they are matched up against an Alchemist, so.
Yeah, this is the deciding moment in the game, right? You have Alchemist Radiance coming out soon. You have 2 Midases on Radiant. Like, they are up by 1K gold, but you don't feel any of this net worth.
No.
You effectively have like 8,000 net worth on the Radiant side that does nothing. So, this is when Liquid needs to do exactly this.
Running over Tims, see if they can keep them chain stun, quickly blown up with a Fateful. Now Armel chasing him, it's gonna be silenced up, and look at Mickey coming in from the side here. They're looking to be able to steal stacks and maybe steal Alchemist's life away as well, as Boxy does not have another stun. They're gonna run out of damage here, and if they're not careful, KP may punish them for diving in a little bit too deep, but this is perfect. Liquid taking control of the jungles. This is what you have to do against an Alchemist, but can you keep that control? Doesn't look like it. Armel just comes right back to farm his stacks.
No breaks, Liquid. Keep going. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. You have to. You don't want to like feel panicked, but you do need to have a sense of urgency. The double Midas is already online. Lycan obviously going for the standard stuff, but what's there like naturally once you take the bottom tier 1, you do rotate to the mid tier 1. But you need more than just Gyro. Like they need to have the fine balance of not too many resources, but enough to get the tower. And nice little tombstone donation there.
They're gonna make the commitment right now with at least the Centaur trying to catch out Tims. Quite by himself, not committing, but just using some of his summons to be able to chase him away. Now trying to take down that mid-tier 1 tower, but you could see TNC, much like Liquid last game, putting a heavy premium and trying to protect this mid-tier 1 tower, keep that map control, and that's where the Void comes in with the Chronosphere, looking to be able to blow up Taiga. They do manage to get him. Tims gets out the damage just before he falls, but it looks like March is going to get gobbled up by Mickey as well, and eventually TNC, they will manage to make this hold. Even without the Radiance and the Chronosphere being used, Liquid have to back up. They just did not bring enough heroes to this fight, with the Centaur still occupying the top lane.
Yeah, that's concerning if they're going even on fights. Like I'm emphasizing, I think that's about 8,000 net worth on Radiant that does nothing. It's like a Sacred Relic and 2 Midases.
Yeah.
So you're effectively ahead by 8,000 gold on Liquid. And you're kind of losing, like it's an even fight. And like we said, this game doesn't get easier, so They need to just keep fighting. They need to force fights while there's no chrono.
Yeah, it's a little surprising that KP and Gabby were trying to force the fight at top lane. It looks like KP's going to get run down.
Yeah, that was
Tim's
a little peculiar.
does hit the LSA onto Boxy.
Oh.
I mean, you were just saying, like, you got to keep up on Liquid. You got to force fights, and TNC's the one running at Liquid with no Chronosphere.
That was particularly odd. And now he's got a massive Pitus. That hurts even more with the Ogre having the multicast. Is going for the Crimson Guard. Elected to go back for these like early stat items that I thought kind of should come before the Midas. But once they get those items, they're almost impossible to kill. But Liquid has this window right now to punish.
Yeah.
And they're clearly aware of this, right? Like the way they're playing.
Another round of shapeshift. The LSA does immediately land on Koifa, but he managed to get the Centaur stun onto Tim's with the follow-up stun coming up from Boxy. That's going to be both supports immediately dead, and it looks like March is going to be chased down as well. The 3, 4, and 5 position, plus the mid-tier 1 tower all falling. Liquid taking huge advantage of this downtime, and I have to say, like, BSJ, at some point in time, you're saying, like, you have to take advantage of this timing. Isn't it also on TNC, like, don't you want to put the brakes on a little bit? Don't you not fight this lineup at some point?
You have to take, like, you have to select your fights very carefully. I think their fighting with Chrono is really good, but like you said, like, them, like, forcing the fight in top was really weird, and now that you don't have Chrono mid, you have to stall as much as possible. You have to force Liquid to bring 3, 4 heroes to take your towers, but then you have to be careful to not just like chain feed while your Chrono's on cooldown. You just question every time I see these types of games, you know, we see them ahead 12-2, but they are losing in net worth. I know it's an Alchemist, so it's kind of like you're kind of expected to lose in net worth to an Alchemist, and an even game may kind of promote okay for Alchemist, or the team against Alchemist, but I don't think it really works that way anymore, like with Alk. He's a hero that just comes online so quickly that early net worth can be felt.
It feels like he's
like
way more
slots.
of a mid-game hero than he used to be, right?
Yeah,
so we're
exactly.
not looking at Alchemist 5 slots when he comes online. It's like 2 items.
Yeah.
Maybe 3.
The
and
3
you're
or
ready
4
to go. And it looks like the
items
initiation onto the Void. A big one with the silence follow-up as well. This carry's having a hard time getting out of all these disables and will fall. And it looks like they're going to be able to catch March as well here. Taiga just keeps pace with him. And eventually, slow March with no boots. It's everyone's so greedy, and poor March has to pick up the tab on everybody else. He still has to buy the wards. They're not winning any fights. They're not getting any towers, and as a result, he's got no boots for his feet.
So yeah, we talked about like the way TNC played last game and the way KP played it. This is such a 180, right, from last game. It almost bothers me if they win this game on the side of TNC, where it's like, this is such a pub game where they're like feeding relentlessly randomly on the map, and yet the game's even because they have 2 Midases and an Alchemist.
You feel like they just shouldn't be
Like,
able to win with this kind of greed,
work.
right?
Like, come on.
This shouldn't be Dota.
I could do this. Like, I could assemble 3 cores of players and be like, dude, just keep farming. They're going to kill us 1 by 1, you know.
That's a North American specialty right there.
Yeah, man. Like, we're going to farm 3 lanes and feed. Like, this is what we do, you know. I wouldn't exactly model anything a team should do off of our region, but all
Tim's
jokes aside.
Poor Tim. This is one of those deaths where you're just kind of running down lanes trying to kill creeps, right? You're just trying to create some space.
Yep, they have the net creep.
They're going to be able to keep him locked in. The silence is going to get there just in time before the time walk. This Grimstroke has been a bane of Void's life. Gabby just cannot get away. And I think Insania started off this game telling Gabby, hey, I'm gunning for you this game.
I mean, I think Liquid, carrying over from last season, they operate best when Boxy's allowed to run around the map killing people.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what situation TNC's given them. I almost think this is like a slap in the face by TNC saying, like, we don't give you any credit to, like, shut us down. You know, like, you're not going to do what it takes to shut us down here. Yeah, I mean, Liquid just needs to keep doing this. Like, we expected this in terms of, you know, one team's got the crazy-ass late game with Alchemist plus Void. But, man, TNC really put all their eggs in one basket of greed and to the next level here. And it's really forced them into this, like, dodge, push out lanes and trade bodies for getting lanes pushed out. They're actually looking to take a fight now, it looks like.
Nice catch onto Lena. And at the same time, with this big Chronosphere, if they can actually take down Mickey, it'd be massive. The Stampede goes out with a multicast. That's going to keep Mickey in place long enough for Gabby to be able to get the double kill. But here comes the Lycan, trying to chase down KP. KP with no mana, very little health. It will eventually fall here. Armel, nowhere to run to use this unstable concoction until he spots him just barely. Does manage to get that one away. The stun does not implode on him, and Liquid will not be able to catch anybody, punish anybody for killing Mickey's gyrocopter. So a decent little fight there for TNC. I think well worth the trade-off for them.
Yeah, the massive Pitus.
Oh, again.
Again, man. Grant would be... He's probably shaking in his sheets right now, as you know, he's laying down enjoying the game with the... Oh.
He's just sitting somewhere watching some NA pubs, and he just feels a shiver down his spine. He's like, somewhere there's a Midas.
I can feel it. I can feel it. It's off cool. He's like, I'm gonna pull up a Hector replay to make me feel better. Yeah, that's a pretty big death on the side of Giant. It's crazy, man. How do you have a game where they're up 19-4 and it just still feels like all the pressure's on them to get something done here?
Yeah.
Alchemist still crazy, skyrocketing in the net worth. Lycan falls off in terms of damage output. You're gonna have a Shiva's coming out on Alchemist, and you have a Crimson being worked on slowly but surely by this Midas Ogre. Pretty funny to see that he had a free farm start and now he's below the Rubik in terms of net worth. Pretty standard Alchemist things when you're not having like a really good game. You kind of see the effect of not having a good game on the rest of the team, not the Alchemist himself. We do have the brief moment to appreciate the 420 in terms of kills. All the Sigrips in chat and all that kind of stuff.
True.
You gotta appreciate that.
At 20 minutes in, too.
Yeah, you gotta appreciate it, you know? Don't forget the memes.
We know the metrics are deceiving, so BSJ, give us your expert opinion. Is Liquid winning this game? Are they performing this lineup as they need to, or was this gyro pickoff too much? Disclaimer,
expert being loosely defined here.
The only expert we got.
Yeah, we're limited here. It's so funny that you say that because it's like, I really don't know. I'm like, I think they're doing what they need to do. Like, they're just killing them over and over again, and they're kind of getting objectives off of it. But is it enough? It's like begs the question. Like if I'm on their perspective, I'm like, we're killing them, and we're pushing lanes, and we're taking Roche, and yeah, why are we not like at their base right now? Why are we not winning the game already? So I think they're itemizing well. Lotus is really good against the time dilation, against the Alchemist stun, the Ogre stun, the Lena Laguna. There's a lot of good reasons for this Lotus Orb. It enables the gyro, like I said, we were talking about during the draft, you and I, that gyro works way better with saves, so kind of like a pseudo save in that regard, like an item to throw onto him. But man, Alchemist is such an annoying hero, man.
Yeah.
They just somehow have accrued this 2K lead despite everything, and he's gonna have a Shiva's. In my past experience, whenever I play Lycan against these types of heroes, I eventually just do no damage in fights, and then you turn into this like weird split push game, and then it's like awkward because you're like this pace-setting hero that no longer wants to fight because you don't do anything. So it's not easy for him to kill the supports because they have like Alchemist and running at you and the Void to save them, and you're gonna have the Crimson Guard on the Ogre, Medallion already on the Undying. With everything I just said, I accomplished effectively nothing in terms of answering your question. So.
It sounds like to me, you're saying Liquid's slightly behind.
I'd say
like
slightly.
They just haven't controlled the map quite well enough. They haven't limited the pickoffs just enough.
Yeah.
And another slip up or two, and this game is very rapidly going to get out of their control. But
yes, I would say one mistake in Liquid is SOL for sure here. Liquid is in control right now, but they are on thin ice.
Well, this is a pickoff they cannot afford. Lycan Does manage to get off his shapeshift though before the stun came in, and he will manage to run away. So if he can just keep vision of some of these heroes, the rest of the team can cut across, and they should be able to get at least 1 or 2 pickoffs here. The Lina is going to be protected a bit by the Alchemist, but here comes the rest of Liquid. KP does spot him, trying to slow him down. The Stampede looking to be able to run down the Lina, does manage to get him. Jump forward from the Alchemist, going straight for Mickey right now with a buyback coming out from the Lina. Can they get him chain stun, or Mickey's just going to turn and fight after all? He's got an Aegis. They can't really focus him down, and it's going to be Armel who dies instead. Mickey survives a little bit longer before that Aegis finally falls, but Gabby with the BKB, he still has the Chronosphere, and he's going to let it fly just as the Gyrocopter coming back alive. Can they save Mickey's life? No, they can't. The Fire Blast multicasts do too much damage, and Koifa running around with no shapeshift is going to be enough to be able to finish off this Lina and maybe get some damage on the KP, but Gabby, he still has a wealth of damage on him. He's going to time walk off some of that to be able to finish off the Lycan. Now just 2 supports. Can they control him up? The H12, the silence isn't going to be enough. Gabby will fall. KP looks like he may die to the 2 supports as well, but Taiga with the time dilation on him, he's too slowed. They have no magic damage left, and Xenia gets another round of his silence back, but he's just, KP's too tanky. He gets 1 more nuke out. The Wolves are slowing down KP as much as possible, but the armor is too much. He can't quite finish up this 100 HP Ogre because the damage is just not there, and KP will survive through it all, gets the double kill, and Liquid get wiped. BSJ, is that the slip up that was just 1 too many?
That might not be. I think we're kind of still at the same point that we were like a minute ago. Like, I think that was a wash, but at the same time, like I said, the longer this game goes on, I don't think this game is out of reach for Liquid yet. Like, that's not like the game-ending slip-up. Him
Back
dying
into the
here
game, though.
is...
Big K.
You
he
cannot
doesn't
die
have the
here.
Aegis this time around. Does have 20 magic stick charges, though, and will be able to get some distance between him and Armel.
I was like, I just came back to saying it's not over yet, and then he's about to die on Gyro. That's the problem, though. By the way, Alchemist didn't BKB that last fight. He just didn't use his BKB, so he died. That was very strange.
March gonna get run down here
Nice
by
juke.
Koifa. You're not gonna feel super great about this use of shapeshift. You gotta find position. Again, feels like Liquid, they need to be able to accomplish more.
I'm very happy with the itemization from Ogre. I highlighted the Crimson Guard. I think it's a big deal. The Shivas as like damage mitigation. I'm talking about like some games, you're the team that has to worry about surviving, or you're the team that's worried about killing the other team. And in this game, pretty much when you have an Alchemist, you're always the team that's worried about surviving. Like, if you survive, you generally win the fight. And so they're gonna build the damage, like make this Lycan do ignorable amounts of damage with the Crimson Guard plus Shivas, because the summons attack really slow. And obviously the Crimson Guard block for all of his teammates. Even a support is tanky with that. And the Gyro Flak, it's really good against that too.
Yeah.
Earlier we saw this, and I'm just fearful that eventually they're not going to be able to kill this Alchemist. And it's not just because Alchemist is tanky, but he also has this Void behind him. And so you can't afford to 4-man the Alch, because the amount of damage you need is from 4 heroes, and then you just get 4-man Chrono.
Yeah.
And they have plenty of damage to just dump into the Chrono. From the Lina as well, even just the Ogre nukes at this point. I like the Force Staff. It basically breaks like any combo that Liquid's gonna throw out at them. Like, you have like a Centaur Blink into Grimstroke Stun into Rubik Lift. It like breaks the lift. Really nice to basically say we're itemizing to survive. It goes along with this whole theme. You know, I didn't really love the Rushed Midas, but KP really making it up to me with the items he's choosing to build now.
Taiga, nice chain stunning here. It's going to allow them to get a good follow-up from the Gyrocopter. And now a beautiful stomp on it too, but a better Chronosphere. Locking down the back line. That's 3 stunned up with the LSA over the top. The Laguna Blade to be able to finish off Big A. That is Liquid losing a fight big time. Koifa might be able to sneak away into the night here, as he will not tick out from the damage between the Radiance and that Ignite, but TNC still solidifying an easy win team fight into Tier 1 and Tier 2
This is exactly what I'm afraid of. 4-man focusing an Alch, and then you get 3-man Chrono. It's like, when you think about it as the fight plays out, and each team is imagining, how do we win this fight? It is so complicated for Liquid. For TNC, it's like just plant Alchemist in front, Crimson Guard him, and Chrono if they go on him. Like, it's just
Buy
so
back
simple.
a stomp. Oh, jeez, these beautiful stuns from Taiga. Once again, the telekinesis into the unstable concoction, setting up Boxy to finish off the Alk. And now, without that big damage dealer, they're free to chase down whatever TNC heroes they can catch. First is going to be March, next is going to be Gabby, but he pops his BKB for fear of Taiga catching him once again. And, well, at least that'll be a BKB charge down. Liquid, though, they have to hit back hard at this point in time. They are losing control of this game as seen from that big Chronospheres fight. They're hoping for an early Roshan, but sadly it's not up for another minute and a half.
Yeah, I will say I'm being a bit biased right now. I'm like rooting for Liquid. I've already said it's not for any other reason than I just don't want an Alchemist with 2 Midases to win the game. Like, I just don't.
It should not be okay.
I don't want viewers to be, like, enabled, you know, by what they're seeing. You know, like, let's go into our 5-man stack, pick Alk and buy 2 Midases.
Well, holding on to the unstable concoction, does manage to get it off on a KP, but Gabby does manage to get the Chronosphere, and only locking down the 2 supports though. Boxy able to get the jump in to finish off that core Ogre, but it looks like Taiga is going to be ripped apart by Gabby, so he does manage to finish off those 2 supports, jumping in for more.
Alchemist
no time dilation to slow down these heroes. Boxy is unable to get away, had no blink up thanks to all those zombies, and now it's TNC's turn to look inside the Roshan pit and be a little disappointed.
No, he's gonna wait. March, no. Oh. Well, I guess I'm rooting for Liquid, so they missed it.
What are you grumbling? We got 50 seconds
the
until the
first
next
hit
Roshan.
bash,
Oh
man.
dear, that is not gonna feel great, but Koifa really didn't have it out either way. With no shapeshift, he wasn't gonna get away from that. Well, they know about that vision on the high ground now, but it's a bit too late.
Apparently I have a hard time reading it. I thought it was going to be up in like 10 seconds, so. Just,
You're like, stay in the pit, and I'm like,
yeah,
what?
Just you know, act
Stay in
like
the
I
pit
know what I'm
for
talking
50
about.
more seconds?
Yeah, 50 more seconds, it's fine. At this point, obviously the momentum tipping in favor of TNC.
Yeah.
It's getting almost out of hand for Liquid, but we saw them burst down the Alchemist last time.
Oh, the telekinesis, they're going to be tossed together as well. Oh, no, didn't actually get the toss together, so Gabby not going to be chain stunned and will not die as a result. Another BKB charge being used, but...
That's just so brutal when you can't finish these heroes off. The Void Time Walk, the Alchemist obviously with just innate survivability with his ult. Going for the full Mjolnir as well. So like now that they've tanked up enough, now they say, now that we're living, we're going to kill you while we're living. That's like what the goal is for their item progression here. The concept is coming together. Like everyone on TNC is clearly on the same page in terms of the way they're itemizing and playing the game.
Yeah.
They are like aligning up their timings really well, despite the flame on the fact that they have like all the greed. They did say all of our heroes are going to hit the power spike at the same time. We're all going to build the same way, survivability into damage. And 7,000 net worth, 31 minutes. Roche is the huge point of contesting here.
Here's another timing for you. The Ogre, who already has that Crimson Guard plus the Plate Mail, potentially Lotus Orb soon. The level 20 talent coming in.
Oh, the 40 strength, right?
The 40 strength. You're talking about surviving. Our boy Ogre.
If he's a man, he'll take the Bloodlust attack speed.
I could dig it. I'm okay with either
man.
one. I mean, you're with the
he's
Void
not a
in and
man.
out,
He
but
decided
come
to
on.
increase his health pool by 40%.
Yeah.
It's
31 armor is now a 3,000 HP Ogre. He's going to draw some attention somewhere.
Yeah, Gyro just can't stand against these types of heroes.
Yeah.
Like as the game goes on, he gets Chrono, he's gonna die. He gets Blink Alk stun, he's probably gonna die, or at least lose like half his health and spend the entire fight running. So I worry for the fact that their main source of damage on Liquid is Gyro, and he is gonna get ran at for the entire fight.
Yeah.
And it's pretty impossible to like avoid what TNC's spitting out here. You have Chrono, you have Blink Alchemist with the Shivas for vision. There's really no way to position against this stuff. Similar to what we saw earlier with Alliance when they picked Sniper and the enemy team could just easily close the gap on him. Gyro's kind of the same thing, but instead he's going to be planted, 800 units closer because he's a short-ranged hero rather than a sniper. They do deny the DD. That was honestly probably a game-ending DD.
Yeah.
Because he'd kill
especially
anybody
since
in Chrono.
Liquid can now take that opportunity to smoke up Can they get the opening they need? Can they run into Gabby and burst him down? They're going to run into Marge. Not the best target, but it is a pickoff nonetheless. And he slips away with a force staff coming out from KP, and they do manage to get some control onto Mickey for a while. Now they jump in for the Chronosphere, and they can't really protect Mickey at all in this situation. Insania is being burnt down by Armel on the back lines. They finish up the supports. Taiga falls as well inside that Chronosphere. Boxy will manage to TP out, but no buyback for the gyrocopter, not for another 2.5 minutes, and he's down for 95. This is looking like the beginning of the end for Team Liquid.
Oof. Man, it's so miserable to play gyro in these games when you have no save and you're just against Void. You just get chronoed and you're like, oh, I'm dead. That's basically how it feels. Like when you don't have Aegis, when you don't have buyback, they're just going for the GG push. Lycan no ulti, Centaur no ulti, Grimstroke no ulti, Dead Heroes. They know he has no buyback because the timer. Actually, yeah,
Tier 4 down. And I mean, there's just no damage from this lineup. They're going to try and jump in with Boxy with the Inkswell. That will manage to blow up one of the supports. Lena's dead, but so is Insania as Gabby's quickly dealing with him. Boxy's trying to lay his damage out onto March. It's just not really doing anything, and Armel will finally turn to finish up the objectives. Now he'll finish off Boxy instead. A nice 3-man stun from Boxy. Can he get back to the fountain to regen up? He will. He'll be fine, but his tier 4 will not. And his throne is rapidly falling. Taiga's going to try and slow it down with a Fate Bolt. Telekinesis around. Koifa running around with his Shapeshift. Not sure what to do because he can't really do anything against this Alchemist. He's going to go for the back line, trying to finish off March. Again, Boxy with a sick 2-man stun. Armel, though, is able to pop his BKB Unstable Concoction. This time, the Centaur will get knocked out of the fight. KP quite low, but Koifa no longer having his Shapeshift. Again, no real damage there. Same goes with Taiga. That was genius indeed. TNC, a very clean game 1, and game 2 a bit scrappier, but their greed does pay off in the end with a 34-minute victory.
Don't emulate this in your pubs, guys.